something off, you can have it email each other. So let's say, for example, it says that the job site wasn't cleaned up. If you checked it off that said the job site was not cleaned up, it can email the super and let the super know. Or if it had something that said, I'm done, I'm 100% done, you could check that off and that could email the super. So there's different things like that you could work into the checklist as well. All right, I want to show you now, in the presentation we talked about your price list that's out there and the price list that's in your packet, signing off on your Schedule A's. You want to make sure that the builder has your latest and greatest prices on file. So if you click on, if you are a work order vendor and you click on the contract list, it will list out all the prices that they have on file, that if they produced work orders for you today, these are the prices it would pull from. It'll also have your scope of work or any attachments out there that are important to you. If you are a material vendor, which this vendor that I have pulled up is not, you'll have another list here that will give you all your materials. Now everybody write this down because everybody kind of forgets about this when they start using the system. Rodrock Homes has classified most of you and your pricing as being global, which means they've put you into a global company in development, which means the prices are the same for every development, for every plan that you work on. So that means that if your prices are not neighborhood specific, then you fall into the global area. So when you want to look at something like contract prices or material list prices, make sure you pick the parent development. All right? If it doesn't pop up and ask you for the development, go to the link that says Select Change Development. On that link, click on the development that says Parent Development. And then after you do that, then go back in and click on your materials or your contracts, and then you'll probably see all your prices there. What they did, and you'll probably see an example of it on that work order, is they said if there are development things, neighborhood things that change the price that they're going to pay you on a house, they created an option code called like neighborhood standards, and they put all the things on there that are going to affect people, and then they link those to your work orders if they affect you. So some neighborhoods require 3 sides brick. Some neighborhoods, if you're doing a septic or a well, change the amount of feet that it's supposed to be from the house because of construction buffers. So there's different things like that that they've worked into neighborhood options. Rather than putting your price in every single neighborhood and taking a real long time to get the system out, they put your price in one place and then the neighborhood option adjusts your price per that neighborhood in some instances. So that may affect some of you, okay? Job starts. Job starts are something that are important. I'm going to take you to Rodrock Homes, the Rodrock Homes system for job starts. And I am going to log in as the HVAC vendor. Put in my login, put in my password, and click login. The link that everybody goes to, that's in the manual, right? Everybody have the link? It should be in this one, I think. There it is, right there. Okay, so it's on page 4 of 18. Under the column, the basics, it's rod.ihmsweb.com. That's the link you're going to go to. If you have iPads or tablets or anything like that, I would recommend that you go to the web page and then hold the web page down, and it allows you to create a shortcut on your device. Then you have a shortcut there. It's kind of like having an app. Then you just hit the shortcut every time. It opens it up, put in your login and password, and that's how you can get to it. All right, so I'm going to click on Job Starts. This says Caution Test System because this is what they use for practicing. Here are the developments. See, there's not a lot of them, and you're going to recognize all of them. Most of you work in all of them. So if you come down and you click on the one that you work on, now you have a list of the houses that are being built in that development. So we put together a house which was lot 96 in Wingate a little while ago. If I click on house 96, this is the information that you're going to see when you go to Job Start. Now, the purpose of this Job Start is that it's going to take the place of that selection sheet that you carry around with you or that you get distributed to you today. So it's going to tell you the development in the house, the address. If it's a spec house, the buyer's name is just going to be spec. It's going to tell you the current work order and the current purchase order stage. If you're curious as to how you work into the stage batched release, if that affects some things and decisions that you make, email Paul Gregg and he can give you a sheet on who's affected by what stage of construction. He can let you know that. Then you have a section over here for attachments. Now, some of the things that could be here are when the designers go through and they do the low voltage locations and the electrical locations and all these different things, they could be saving that and putting it out here for you. Not really something that's being done at this moment in time, but something that certainly is anticipated to be done soon. What is being done at this moment in time is the plot plan. So if you click on the plot plan and you have an iPad or something with you with internet access, it doesn't matter where you're at, what job site you're on, you can click on the house, click on the plot plan, and the plot plan will load up for you, in addition to everything else we've talked about so far. So they're nice things to look at when you're in your vehicles going from site to site or researching something on the job. That was a big file on this plot plan. We might want to look at trying to slim these down a little bit, but so is this important to anybody? Everybody, right? It's an important thing. So if there's other things that are important to you, send an email over to Paul or Steve and say, you know, it would be really nice if I had whatever out there. You know, I'm sure that whatever you're asking for is something that probably works into the normal processes anyway. They could get it out there for you. If you hit the plus sign down here at the bottom, it allows you to drill in if you're using a computer. If you're using an iPad, obviously you're just going like this and it's making it big and pulling it in and out. When you want to close it, remember you're not going to close the big red X, you're going to close the small tabular X. Now, let's say you're curious as to what the standard color selections are for the whole house. Not just the ones on your work order, what are they for the whole house? So I would click on the selections link. And now I see every selection on house 96. And this is live data. It's available to you right now. So take a look at it when you get home, because everything that you might be interested in is sitting here for you online. All right? It's a real powerful thing. Then I have all my options. So here's that community option that I was telling you about. Then I have all my categories, and then I have the options under those categories. This is the net effect total options that are on this house. Something to keep in mind is that, you know, you're probably just going to look at your category and that's going to pertain to you. Something else that might be important is if you scroll all the way to the bottom, there's a category called custom. The custom option request category is something that we should all look at because it may potentially affect all of us. A buyer may have asked to have a fireplace upstairs in the master bedroom and a type of mantle that you don't offer. It has to be custom. Or they may have asked to have a finished basement with upgraded hardwood flooring and they wanted a custom bar built in the middle. So all these things will be out there under the custom request column so that you can see what's going on this house. If there are attachments, like maybe the buyer came in with a picture of that custom bar they wanted built, then the attachment would be out here so that you could click it and the thing would pop up so that you could see what the designer talked to the buyer about, what exactly needs to be built. Somebody asked a question about change orders earlier. So when the designers meet with the buyers select options. Options make changes to the base house. The way that we look at the change of the base house in total, in scope, is by change order. A change order is a 3-digit number. Under that change order number, you may have one or many options that the buyer has selected for ratification to put on the house that affect each and every one of you. So somebody asked earlier, what if there were changes? So if I log on and I click on the change order link, I can look at all the changes over the last 1 week, 2 weeks, 1 month, or 1 year. And it'll load all the change orders up. And if you want to see the change orders, exactly how they looked when they were defined in sales, you can just click that 3-digit number that we talked about, and the change order will pop up with all the options on it. This is a cool thing. If you have Skype enabled, you just click it and it calls the person. If you scroll down a little bit, it has all the options laid out. And then over here, you have comments along with those options, which might be color selections or locations or styles. All right, so if you want to see all the changes that happened the last week, just do this. It'll give you all the change orders that came in over all your houses over the last week. Payments. So we looked at the status of work when it's released, and we looked at the status of it when it is approved and when it's invoiced. And we saw that after it's invoiced, it has a check date associated with it. If you want to just research your payments, let me actually do it on my test system. Maybe we didn't pay anybody out of this yet. If you want to look at just your payments, click on the payment link, and it will give you the company that paid you, the check number, the check date, and the check amount. And if you want to click on one of those check numbers, it will give you all of the invoices that it paid from that check. Now this is a powerful thing, because on the invoice number is the work order or purchase order number. The invoice date is the day that Danny pulled it into her batch, which is probably real close to the day it was approved by the superintendent. The memo is the development and the 8-digit house number. And the first 3 numbers of the 8-digit house number are the lot number. And then you have your gross amount, your discount, and your actual payment amount. So if you ever have to reprint a check stub, you got your check number, your check date, and all the invoices down here. And if you want to research a check date or a check number, you can type them up here and hit the little things that look like funnels, and it'll go through and it'll find what you're looking for after you type it.
Can you pull it up by house number as well?
In here you cannot,
Okay.
because those house numbers and invoices are under the checks.
Okay, so to pull up a past invoice that's been paid, you have to have that invoice number, not the house number.
The check number or check date.
So she has the lot number. If you click on the lot number, will it bring up the house address like on some of the other ones?
Well,
No.
if you dig into a check, you see that you have the lot number here. That's pretty much what you have here. There's no more clicking on that screen there. But if you're paid once or twice a month, you could drill it down to what the date is, see the checks, and then click the checks that are appropriate for the date. And then just to reiterate, a couple housekeeping things. At the bottom is your change password link. If you click on the change password link, this is where you'll put in the word password. Everybody make a note to do that. That's your current password that you have. And then put in your new password so that every other time you log into the system, it has your new password on there. It's a little more secure than just the word password. Another thing to think about is Rodrock Homes has not gone live with the accounting part of this yet. So the information that's in there on the vendor side of things, on your side, is just what was put in there to help us get the scheduling and purchasing system moving. And what that means is your contact information might not be all the way filled out. So when you log in, make a note to yourself to log in and click on the My Profile link. When you click on the My Profile link, it has the name of your company, and then it has whoever the primary contact should be. I've seen that they were blank on a lot of yours. So if you want to give them the primary contact and the primary contact phone number, that might be helpful for you so that they can call the primary person if need be. And then fill out the email address. Right below that, you have the contacts link. I also noticed that there's like no contact information filled out other than the contact information for your company in general. And I don't think they even have this in their other system. So I think what you should do is click on the contact link here, and you should fill out whoever handles accounting, whoever handles sales, whoever the purchasing person is, whoever the owner is. Fill all that stuff out and say what that person does. That way, if Rodrock Homes has to get a hold of you for some reason, they don't just have the main number, they have the contact information for all the other people in your organization. I think that's a real good thing to do. All right, now I said I'd come back to this. After you clear your dashboard, we talked about work orders. Here's the work orders link. The purchase orders is the same way. You got your house number, hold your mouse over it, it gives you the full address. You can click the link for your work order. You can see the day it was released, the full description, and the amount of money. So you have your work order and purchase order link there. All right, so we've pretty much covered everything that was important. So let's now wrap it up. Does anyone have any questions?
Who do we call when we have questions?
That's a very good question. I think that if you have questions in general, you should probably contact Danny. I think that if you have questions regarding the pricing on your Schedule A or missing options or something that's a purchasing function, I think you should call Paul Gregg. And I think if you have questions that pertain to construction, I think you should get a hold of Steve. Am I missing anybody, Steve?
What's going to be the procedure for VPOs? Getting them from the supers or from you, or?
Talked about very quickly, we're going to start off with Paul at the office. And we'll work that out beforehand so we can get those generated from there and kicked out.
For that, we could send Paul an email and say, hey, we need to.
I think your superintendent's going to be the first one you're going to need. Is that the way it typically is done? Superintendent?
Superintendent has a VPO screen. So if you have a super near you, you can call them over and say, can you enter a VPO for whatever, explain it to them. They can type it pretty quickly on the iPad and submit it. If it's within the range of approval, it goes straight to your dashboard and authorizes you to do the work. If it's over the approval limit, then it gets emailed to Steve or Paul, and then from their phone they can either change it, deny it, or approve it. The minute they approve it, then it goes to you. So if it's like an emergency or something, you could certainly get a hold of the back office, but the most efficient way that we want the engine to run is go through your supers. All right, so just to recap here, check your dashboard every day. That's the first one. The system's not going to give you a whole lot of emails cluttering up your email. It's going to hope that you look at it and then figure out what you want to do. Okay? Update your contact info. Use the work order, purchase order status history to manage your open commitments of work. What's been released, what's out there that a superintendent has approved that you haven't been paid for yet. That's your short-term receivables. What's out there that you have been paid for yet. Okay? That's your work order, purchase order status history. That's where you're going to manage your cash. You have your schedule listing. You have your calendar view of your schedule. Your pricing is in your contract list or your material list. Also make a note that your selection sheets are going to go away. Your selection sheets are going to be replaced by what's called job starts. Today, if you go home and you log on to the system, click your job start link. It might be kind of fun for you because you have everything all in one spot. Click the houses that you're familiar with. If you see any mistakes, should they maybe contact Karen or send it back to Paul if you see any mistakes, because they're updating those and ratifying those today and getting all that information in there. On your job starts, look at your plot plans. So if you've ever had to search for plot plans and you're not sure where to find it, it's just one click away. Look it on there. Change orders, they'll all be updated too. Everything will be, when you see change orders this week, it'll be like everything. But as we start using the system for a month or two, it'll only be the things that you want to see at a glance. And then the payments link won't really be too helpful until we start cutting you checks. But the last thing that I want to talk about is this one down here that says Model Elevation Documents. If you click on Model Elevation Documents, it's going to list out every plan offered by Rodrock Homes. Now you're probably going to want to go to the parent company for this one, but it'll have every plan that they have officially drawn. So if you've ever been in a position where you're getting ready to bid a product and you don't have the latest plan, it's kind of a bad position to be in because you're waiting for somebody to get it to you and then your time's limited on bidding. So what you want to do is just come over here, click the Model Elevation Doc, make sure you're in the parent, and then come over here. The items that are in green are model drawings. The items that are in blue are elevation drawings. So if depending on how they uploaded them, if it's an elevation, a full complete elevation, you might see it in blue. If it's a basic model and they're still drawing the elevations, then you'll see them in green.
We'll be able to download and print those plans off,
You can,
like basement layouts.
yeah, what?
See it from your iPad too, correct?
Yeah, what you?
While you're on the job.
Yep. So you have it on the job on your iPad, so you can move it around with your fingers.
Guys could go in and look it on their smartphones
Yep.
and get a measurement or something.
Yep. Yep. What some people do is they actually go to like a local Kinko's or a Staples, and they ask if they can have access to the computer, log into ITK and download it right on that computer, and then have somebody from Kinko's or Staples print it in the giant paper. I know guys that do that as well. Did you have a question, sir?
Probably for Steve. Are those going to be pretty current?
That's what we're working on now. Yeah, getting the most current versions in there.
Sweet.
The most current versions we'll try. Yeah, we're working on now. It takes a long time. We have a lot of different architects we're dealing with, so those are in the process of all being updated. So.
There won't be a plan for the house, just the actual model, right?
They're redlining plans today, right? Did you plan on attaching the redline plans today?
Well, we talked about either doing just the master or going to a house specific, so it shows the grade of land and whatnot. But I think we're just going to go with just the basic model here of each elevation on there, and then not the individual. But if it's changed, if the plans have changed, that version will be there. Okay. It's a custom version, you know. But if it's the Larson 2 Elevation 2, it's going to be the Larson 2 Elevation 2 that we've done time after time. So.
Plot plans be on there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, plot plan should be on every single house. The model elevation document, we're like, I think 60–70% done, getting all those redrawn over there. Anything else that might be helpful on a house-by-house basis, you'll see it there.
Permits be on there and all that? Or we still need to get, so we still need to get like our sewer permits and our water permits and all that from our superintendent?
And we can get those can like a sewer permit page be uploaded into the system?
Yes.
Yes, as a document, yeah.
And some of those documents, we still need to have the originals.
Yeah. But for reference, you can go back and say, what's the permit number for this house?
Yeah, so we can call inspections in and all that. Beautiful.
So the permit number should actually be on your work order, but if it's not, I mean, we'll look at just uploading the whole files out there too.
Better.
Yeah, it's right there. Yeah, cool.
Things that are wrong on the Schedule A, contact Paul.
And that's the purpose of that, making sure where we're at. Yeah.
We're going to be working late tonight too, so give us a call. Any questions on anything?
Just so I understand, so when the superintendent clicks the button that our work is completed, that is what our invoice for us to get paid on? Is that how that works?
Similar.
That pay period?
Basically what ends up happening, it doesn't actually create the payment record, doesn't make it an invoice. Today the superintendents have to sign them, and then Steve and Paul spend a lot of time looking at the coding, and then Danny spends a lot of time double checking and typing the coding.
Right.
The new process is going to be that when the superintendent checks it, that's putting their signature on it.
Okay.
And it goes directly to Danny already coded and in the batch.
So we fax nothing, we email nothing.
Right.
It's all done by them checking and approving that our work is completed.
You got it.
So a lot rides on our superintendent's shoulders to be very thorough, to make sure we get paid on checking these boxes.
Make sure you change your password.
No pressure.
Jake's taking it a whole different direction.
wasn't checked, somebody's in trouble.
But
And she's gonna tell you the first thing is she's gonna say, talk to your superintendent. Because now what happens is you call Danny, whatever, Danny talks to me, I'm like, I don't know.
Oh, I know, no. it
And that's an
was a
example,
joke.
that happens quite a bit,
Yeah.
guys. You know, hey, why didn't I
Yeah.
get picked for this? I don't know.
Right.
And neither does Danny, so we have to go
is that
back.
my alarm that the class is done?
I didn't get paid.
So that part's not taking effect until January.
That's right. That's right.
It's all scheduling. And you
That's
guys are
right.
gonna see, you're gonna have two schedules right now. in
That's
some
right.
houses. You're gonna have a finished schedule.
Then it's
that
everything.
We've already sent out. And
Yep.
you're gonna have a schedule that is in the system. We're gonna get these two to match for now. You know?
Oh yeah, this is a good point.
Yeah.
We need
Does
to
that make
make sure our
sense?
Schedule A
You-
pricing is correct.
Well, actually on the schedule, you're gonna have schedules on houses that close in December. We have quite a few closings in December. So you're gonna say, okay, live, which one's correct? We're gonna make sure before we go live on the 26th, our schedule from HBN that we use today and the schedule in this system are the same.
Right.
They match, so there's not gonna be a variance on those.
Will the new schedule pick out holidays? Because I'm scheduled to do something on Thanksgiving that ain't gonna
I
happen.
know. Well, see, we did it.
Yes.
We did it on
I love
purpose.
that.
Yes.
I love, that happens to me
And the day after Thanksgiving.
every year.
Yeah, and the new schedule, we're going to try to make them match, but on situations like that, they might not.
If you have a question on something that's in December on a close or whatever else, talk to your superintendent still and say, hey, the system says this, but I've already got this from you. Because that's what we're trying to do, attempting to do is on the December stuff. And it doesn't look, the format's a little bit different, so we're trying to make it work. We're trying to get the dates as close as we can, but it should be right spot on, pretty close. Not the actual overall look, but the dates themselves.
And if they're off, they rely on the new one, right? So you can, well, if they're off, you're going to rely on the new schedules. That's an important thing too.
If you have a question, call your super at that point and say, hey, here's one.
My super voicemail vote.
Have a question in the back?
For us, we invoice kind of as we ship, but we hold the packet for once a month, we deliver everything at one time. So some houses are gonna be in the middle of maybe us shipping the trim. And I wasn't sure with the dates, where the cutoff comes between the Schedule A payment versus how we do our billing now. I mean, anything that's in progress, or I guess in motion on the 10th, will the individual invoices after that still, come through and work themselves through on that particular house? Or will the Schedule A take over for what is, I'm just not really sure how that difference works. If you send multiple invoices to Rodrock now versus the one lump sum.
But you'll still have a cutoff date like we do today for whatever those invoices are at. I want to make sure I'm understanding. All the invoices have to be to us by a certain point to be paid in that billing
Right.
cycle and afterwards.
Are you?
Like the 10th here, it says fully implemented, the purchase orders and work orders, no more invoices except. Kind of the 10th is the date. Is that
Do you have a Schedule A in there?
We do.
You're going to want to make sure that the cost code breakdown is going to be equal to the number of invoices that you send in, and everything else will work itself out. If they've, like, say for example, you used to send in 2 invoices, but now you only have 1 cost code, that'll create confusion. But as long as you have the number of payment points equal to the number of invoices, it'll all work itself out.
Yeah, see, we may have 6 invoices now,
Okay?
and there may be 1 payment point here.
1 payment point's okay, but do they have your pricing broken out into 6 different draws?
No, it just
That's something that I'm gonna have to go over with him.
Yeah, and Paul,
Some
yeah.
guys are bad about, I need some stuff over here, I'm gonna take it from this one. Friggin', I've done a house 50 times, I should never have to go to. I go and take stuff every time. So that's something I gotta get to with him.
Yeah, that's important.
Because there's always something else that goes, always.
Well, it's probably situations like you said, where the buyer came in and picked something at the last minute, and they're grabbing stuff, and
Well, it's, the trim guy, and he's taking it from A Rodrock to A Rodrock. Unless he tells me, I can't write the credit for this one, charge for that.
sure.
It happens.
That will depend on the answer to your question a little bit.
Yeah, it only pertains to houses that are right in the middle on this 10th.
On the payment cutoff.
Payment cutoff thing here.
Okay.
If they pay by the Schedule A or whether they pay by invoice, I guess. Maybe I have to.
They're going to pay by work order approval. So the Schedule A is just the price, but the actual work orders and purchase orders.
For us, it'll probably be attached.
So that'll be attached to a scheduling step. So when the super goes to that scheduling step and marks those things off, as long as that happens before the 10th, then that answers your question. After the 10th, it pops into the next pay run. But we want to make sure they're broken out correctly, and we want to make sure how you're going to handle the credits, though.
And I may have to work with Danny for the invoices actually cut off.
I think so.
What they're going to pay from.
I think so, and you might want to have her break it out into more draws, you know, if you think they're going to be split like that.
I don't think our invoices are going to match POs or whatever. No, it's not. It's not going to match. It's going to be like a contract.
But you have to live with the POs are live.
So you'd have some in the whole $50. You'd have some plus $50.
Right.
You just reconcile it job by job. Try to get it down to what you
I was just trying to decide what, you know, we're gonna have invoices, you know, and you're gonna have a purchase order over here, and at what point in time does one take priority over the other one? When do purchase orders come? I mean, purchase orders are effective here?
Yes. So you'll be doing invoices all the way up to here, and then talk to Danny and Brooke about that cutover point, and that'll answer your questions. Yeah.
What happens?
We can go over way before that.
Yeah. Yeah. They're going to write up a detail thing on what the cutoff is and when they get them in on your invoices and when not to do your invoices, and that'll come out next month.
Okay, all right.
That should answer a lot of your
More to
questions.
come. All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Yes.